Hello everybody, Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today we have a kind of older, not really older, it was from Breakthrough, but we have a deck centered around Xerneas EX from Breakthrough, and just a reminder before I get into the deck that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. Helps us out a ton and lets us do a lot more for you guys. But anyway, like I said, this deck is centered around Xerneas from Breakthrough. This has been, it's been out for a little while, and Breakpoint's even come out since then, which helped this deck a little bit, but this card is still very, very powerful, able to OHKO almost anything given the proper setup. The attack we're actually going to be focusing on is Rainbow Force. For 1 Fairy and a DCE, you can hit for 10 base, which is awful, but plus 30 for each different type of Pokemon on your bench, and so obviously we are going to take advantage of that, try to load up our bench with as many different types of Pokemon as possible, and just hit for obscene amounts of damage. Now, the other attack for 2 Fairy and a DCE is Power Creation, 80, and then if this Pokemon was healed during this turn, this attack does 80 more. We actually have a mini strategy in the deck that can make this hit for 160 if you don't have a big enough bench with Rainbow Force. So, that's not what the deck is centered around. The deck is definitely centered around Rainbow Force, but Power Creation in a pinch, if you need it, can hit for a ton of damage. Now, as you can see, we are only running 3 of the main attacker. That is because we are running 1 of the Geomancy Xerneas just to get some setup going. Basically, you just want to get some Fairy Energy onto your 2 Xerneas on the bench, or 1, or just get energy somewhere. That way you don't have to manually power up and let this Xerneas take a hit. As for the rest of the Pokemon, we are running just 1 of almost every single type that I could fit in the deck. 1 Dredagon, because Revenge for a DCE can hit for 90. Now, while these Pokemon are different types, I specifically picked Pokemon that had either colorless attack costs, so I can run them on Fairy Energy, or I had them with a different design in mind. We have 1 Shaman for setup. Really, you just have to run Shaman. Shaman is great, but you don't want to run too many because that's just taking up space on your bench that you want to have a different type of Pokemon out there. Now, I am running 2 normal type Pokemon because Shaman and Smeargle. Really, I'm running this for the second coat. Once during your turn, you may switch a basic energy attached to your active Pokemon with a different type of basic energy in your discard pile. Now, this has great synergy with Hawlucha, who has the Flying Press as a great EX attacker, can hit for 60 for 1, and has Free Retreat, which is phenomenal in this deck. Now, normally, Hawlucha would be completely useless, however, because the Flying Press does require a fighting energy. However, with Smeargle and 1 single fighting energy, I can discard the fighting energy, attach a fairy energy to the Hawlucha, and then use Smeargle's second coat to get that fighting energy on in exchange for the fairy energy. So that's just kind of a little bit of synergy between those couple cards in this deck. I'm running a 1-1 line of Zorua and Zoroark because Zoroark, again, runs on colorless energy. That is incredible for a Pokemon that really is not a fairy type, that you can power it up with fairy energy, so that's great, and Mind Jack hits for a lot as well, and also Stand-In is never a bad ability to have. Like I said, running 4 Xerneas, 3 of the attacker and 1 of the setup, 1 Hawlucha, 1 Celebi, really just to kind of stall for time. Leap through time is what we are using this Pokemon for. You can't really read it, but what it says is when this Pokemon is knocked out, flip a coin, if heads, shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck, and your opponent can't take any prize cards for it. So this is great for stalling for a turn, for leading. Obviously, you will never be able to attack with it because Celebi does require a grass energy. I could use Rainbow Energy in this deck, but I find that the 10 damage actually is a magic number sometimes, so you really don't need to do it, especially because you would only be using it for Celebi and the Sparkle Motion, which doesn't do enough to make it worth it. So Celebi is just great for time stalling. You have the Dedenne, which, can be great for entrainment and energy short. So, you can use both of these, but energy short is great for just those Yveltal that get a little bit out of hand. You just want to knock them out with a single energy. 1 Jirachi for the Stardust to slow down Night Marchers. Just, again, stall for a turn. Really, this deck is centered completely around getting Xerneas powered up, so anything that can slow down those really fast decks, is phenomenal. We are running 1 Jinx with the Victory Kiss. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may heal 10 damage from your active Pokemon. That is the synergy I was talking about earlier with the Power Creation. If Jinx heals 10 damage off of Xerneas, well, guess what? Power Creation now hits for 160. And finally, we are running a 1-1 line of Remoraid and Octillery as our water Pokemon. I've experimented with a couple different Pokemon in this. I've used Feebas and Milotic to get a DCE back sometimes. I tried a Seismitoad again for the stalling tactic, but I find that I really just want draw support more often than not. So that is why I'm going with the Remoraid and Octillery, particularly because Octillery has, actually entirely because Octillery has the Abyssal Hand. On to the item cards, we have one Battle Compressor that is really just entirely for getting the fighting energy into the discard pile for Smeargle's second coat. I mean, that's the only reason I'm running it in this deck, and also in a pinch it helps if you have a VS Seeker in hand and want to get some form of supporter in the discard pile to be able to VS Seeker it back out. 3 Level Ball, I mean, that's a pretty heavy number of Level Ball, but I mean, almost all of our Pokemon can be fished out with Level Ball. I mean, I think the only ones are the Xerneases that we cannot get, the Zoroark, the Shaman, and the Druddigon. So only 4 Pokemon, but only 8 of our cards, 7, I cannot count, cannot be fished out with Level Ball. So I mean, Level Ball is just phenomenal, particularly with the Remoraid and Octillery. 2 Revives, because if you have to discard Pokemon or get them back onto your bench just to get a little boost on the Rainbow Force, Revive is great for throwing that one Celebi that you discarded or a Hawlucha that you discarded, just throwing it right back onto the bench. 1 Super Rod to get Pokemon back into our deck. We are running a little low on attackers. Xerneas is really the only attacker, and Zoroark in a pinch can do it, but we really want to be attacking with Xerneas more often than not, so Super Rod is great for getting that back along with energy. 1 Switch just in case you start with an undesirable Pokemon, which this deck really does have. I mean, the ideal starter is either Celebi or this Xerneas, or even Hawlucha. So I mean, that's 3 out of all of these that are not ideal starters, so Switch comes in handy a lot. 4 Ultra Ball just to guarantee get everything out. 4 VS Seeker to reuse our supporters. 1 Hex Maniac so we don't auto-lose to Pyroar, and also to slow down the Greninja break decks. 1 Lysander just for pulling stuff out if we want to stall or if we want to KO. 2 Professor Birch's Observations. Like I said, I'm moving away from these just because it requires a coin flip, especially because N is being reprinted, which really screws me over a lot. I hate N, and I hate how much it centralized the game in terms of like late game, it just getting 1 card, and it's all about how lucky you get off that 1 card. So 2 Professor Birch's Observations, 4 Professor Sycamore for the guaranteed draw, absolute max number of Skyfield because we want to have as many different types of Pokemon on the bench as possible for Xerneas. 3 Fighting Fury Belt. This was how Xerneas got buffed through Breakpoint, because now Xerneas automatically has 160 HP instead of that measly 120, which really helps out on some major KOs. And also that 10 damage is really, really helpful in a lot of different scenarios. You'd actually be surprised how much it comes in handy, particularly on 170 HP Pokemon. That means you only have to get 5 different types of Pokemon. You don't even need a Skyfield to OHKO them. So Fighting Fury Belt is phenomenal. 1 Floatstone because, I mean, hey, we're running Zoroark in this deck, so might as well have the pseudo Rush Treat going on there. 4 DCE because, I mean, Xerneas runs on DCE, Zoroark, Druddigon, all of them run on DCEs, so you want to run the max number of them as possible. 7 Fairy Energy, I mean, that's what the deck is around, and it'd be kind of dumb not to run any Fairy Energy. And like I said earlier, the single Fighting Energy for Hawlucha, and with the Hawlucha Smeargle synergy. So actually, you can even attach the energy to Xerneas, discard a Fairy Energy, and use Smeargle for that. So I mean, that's like a little tech in the deck that kind of helps sometimes. But anyway, I am done rambling. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Dark Hitachi with a grass normal deck, so we might even be against a Raticate break deck, which would be a little bit of a problem. Hopefully we'll overwhelm them and knock them out really quickly. So we do lose the coin flip. That is very unfortunate, so we will not be able to go first. So it all depends on what we draw. We draw not the best starting Pokemon. I mean, I guess I did say I liked Celebi, but you know what? I mean, it's not great, especially because I don't have any draw support. And this looks to be a Chesnaught deck? Sceptile EX Chesnaught Break, maybe? But anyway, we do have kind of horrible starters, although hopefully with the mulligans we will be able to get some cards going. My opponent did mulligan twice, so hopefully I can get something off of it. We do have a Celebi, and I get an Ultra Ball, which is just as good as a draw supporter. My opponent starts with a Chessman, so I'm interested to see exactly what type of deck this is. It's probably, I'm not even sure. I don't know what all my opponent is running. Oh, we do see the Judge. That is bad considering we just got something that we could work with, but hopefully we get, okay, so we get an Ultra Ball, and okay, we get something else that we can kind of work with. Hopefully my opponent doesn't get anything good. He does get a Lysander off of that, so that's a bit unfortunate right there. What I can do is Ultra Ball away the energy and probably the level ball to grab a Shaman, play that down, and my opponent does get a Shaman of his own. He had a great Judge, so now he gets 6 fresh cards, and he had a pretty good start. Yeah, he had a very good start, it looks like. So he didn't get a Sceptile down, which is good for us. What I can do actually is Ultra Ball away the level ball and the fairy energy to grab a Shaman. Yep, let's grab it. Go ahead and play down the Skyfield to get our benches a little bit bigger. Go for the Shaman to get more cards in our hand. We even get a switch, but that isn't really going to help us. So what I am going to go ahead and do is, I guess, Hex Maniac. I think that's all I have to do this game. I mean, I'm not in a great position at all. And then just go for probably a regular energy on the Celebi to be able to retreat it. And I'm just going to end my turn right there. Hopefully I can get a Sycamore or something next turn. My opponent will not have any abilities, which hopefully will keep him from being able to do much. He will be able to go for a tackle this turn for 20, so that's something. He does go for the Ultra Ball. That is unfortunate. Hopefully he grabs a Shaman and he forgot about the Hex Maniac that I played. Nope, he just goes for the Sceptile, meaning he probably has a supporter in hand. Yep, he has a Sycamore. That is great for him, really bad for us. I'm going to have to discard 2 evolutions if I can get a Sycamore. So my opponent is off to a phenomenal start, and we are just kind of sitting here waiting for something to happen. I mean, I wasn't able to get really anything. I mean, I had something going with that Judge before I got judged first turn. So already my opponent does get the Spirit Link onto the Sceptile. He's going to tackle this turn for 20 damage. Next turn, it can't. I want Celebi to not get knocked out. And alright, so I do get the Sycamore. Hopefully I can get something that I really can work with. I do not. I get a Dedenne, which actually might be able to knock out my opponent. So let's go ahead and grab the Remoraid with that. Go ahead and play this down. Play the Dedenne. Play the Fighting Fury Belt. Dedenne will not be able to knock him out this turn, so that is unfortunate there. But what I can do is get some damage off on him, I guess. Go for... Do I want to play the DCE on Dedenne? I might have to. And then just retreat into that. And then go for an Entrainment. I hate to waste an energy to go for an Entrainment, but I kind of have to at this point to grab a regular Xerneas, and oh man, my other Xerneas is prized. Actually, 2 of my Xerneas are prized. That is horrible. Ooh, man, this is bad and looking worse. So let's grab the Jirachi and the regular Xerneas so that hopefully we can stall for a turn. If my opponent decides to attach more energy to this Quilladin, he will be able to... Well, actually, I'll be able to knock him out next turn if he cannot get a Chesnaught, or if he gets a bad number of tails. Nope, he knocks me out with 3 heads. Oh my gosh. So that's very unfortunate right there. My opponent got pretty lucky on the heads, so I just had to go into Jirachi and kind of stall, really. So let's go ahead and play that down here. Go ahead and play that there. Go for the Birch's Observations. We luckily get heads. Whew, it's about time. I don't have my Super Rod because I need the Octillery to get some guaranteed cards. So what I am going to go ahead and do is attach the Fighting Energy onto Jirachi, go for a Level Ball to grab, I guess, the... probably grab the Zorua, that way I can get a Zoroark as soon as I need it, and then, yeah, go for a Stardust to stall for 1 turn, discard the special energy, and now Jirachi is immune to a damage from attacks this turn. So I bought myself a turn. Hopefully that turns out to be enough, because I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'd have 6 types of Pokemon on my bench after next turn. So really hoping that that 1 turn will buy me enough time to be able to you know, knock out my opponent. He does go for the Chestnut. Doesn't matter. What I am probably going to do is Lysander in probably the other Quilladin, because it doesn't have any energy on it right now, and this Chestnut can attack, and also the other Quilladin is pretty heavy, so that's what I'm going to do this turn. Never mind, he gets a DCE on it. Actually, that's even better, because it will give me immunity to attacks once again once I Lysander that thing in. Never mind, my Lysander was not in my discard pile, so that changes things pretty dramatically. My opponent gets rid of my Stadium. What I am going to go ahead and do, because Hawlucha will not be of much help this battle, is just go ahead and get rid of the Shaman and probably the other Smeargle. Probably the Smeargle, just because hopefully I can get another Skyfield. I really don't want to have to get rid of my hand, but it looks like I might have to. I mean, my opponent, okay, so he just evolves into the Chestnut Break, who has the Tough Hammer and is absolutely ridiculously bulky. So we're in a tough position right now. I'm just going to do this, go ahead and play the VS Seeker for a Professor Birch's Observations, and then hopefully get something else going. We do get heads, so that is great to see. We even get the Battle Compressor, so what I can do is go ahead and get the Lysander into my discard pile. There we go. And I still do have the Super Rod, so I'll probably be able to get that at some point, and that's all I want to get into my discard pile. And then I'm just going to go straight for the Stardust to get some damage on him, I guess. He does even get the Spiky Shield, so that is unfortunate there. He will be able to knock me out if he has a DCE. I'm hoping he doesn't, just because I can attack then. And also, I'm really hoping for the Skyfield, to draw into the Skyfield this turn, because that would mean I would be able to knock out the Chestnut. What I am going to do is go ahead and put that onto the Xerneas. Go ahead, and I have to Birch, because I have so many things in my hand that I want to keep. I have the other DCE, I already got rid of one of them, and I have 2 of my other Pokemon. I just had to pray that I can get heads off of this. Nope, we get tails. That's not good. I do get a Float Stone, so I mean, that's something, I guess. And then I'm just going to go straight for the Stardust to get some more damage off on the Chestnut. I mean, Jirachi will go down this turn just because of that stupid Spiky Shield, but what I can do is go into Celebi and pray, and then next turn I can just VS Seeker for a Sycamore to hopefully get enough cards to be able to do something. My opponent is getting almost completely set up because of our horrible start. He will be able to touchdown, or not touchdown, he will be able to Tough Hammer if he wants to, but he probably will go for it just to get some damage on one of my Xerneas or something like that. I'm hoping that he does not get... Well, I'm hoping that he gets Tails on my Leap Through Time Flip, because that's my only chance of really doing anything at this point. Come on, give me heads, give me heads, give me heads. Yes, okay, so my opponent does not get a prize. That is fantastic for us. Let's go ahead and... What do we get? We get the Super Rod. Oh, that is phenomenal. Let's go ahead and grab the Octillery. Let's grab the Jirachi, and I think... Actually, not the Jirachi. Let's grab the Zoroark, and let's grab the Shaman. And then go for... Play the Energy onto this Xerneas. Go for the VS Seeker. Grab a Professor Sycamore. And then hopefully get something that we can really work with. So, okay, we do get... Alright, so that is great. What we can do is go ahead and play that. Play the Skyfield. Play this onto this Xerneas. Go ahead and go for the Shaman. Hopefully get some more Pokemon that of different types that we can work with. We get the Jinx, we get the Octillery, and we will be hitting for a pretty solid amount of damage this turn. Go for the Abyssal Hand, maybe get something. We get a Sycamore, not exactly what we wanted, but it is okay. Let's just go for a Rainbow Force. Knock out the Chestnut Break. He does damage us with Spiky Shield, but I don't think my opponent has a way of retaliating next turn, so we will be in a very good position, regardless of what my opponent does. I will probably Lysander in his Shaman next turn if he decides to bring that up, or he just brings in his Virizion if the Virizion gets an energy on it. Actually, it really depends on what he decides to power up. So he's going for the Sceptile. That means, should I go for it? That depends on what I draw. I draw a Zoroark, that is just fine. What I can do is go ahead and play a DCE onto this Xerneas. Go for the Victory Kiss. Where are all my revives? I do not have them. That means I'm just going to go ahead and VS Seeker to grab a Lysander. Go ahead and Lysander in the Shaman to get a couple more cards. And, ooh, I can actually Abyssal Hand this turn, see if I can get something to work with. I do, but that is okay. I'm just going to go for the Rainbow Force, knock out the Shaman, take 2 more prizes, and we are in an excellent, excellent position. I even get a Skyfield and a Hawlucha to do more damage next turn. So I'm wondering what my opponent's going to do. If he knocks out this Xerneas, which actually I don't think he can, and we will be able to Oko the Xerneas next turn, so, well, not anymore, but we could have at the time. Okay, if he powers it up, he will be able to do some good damage with Jagged Saber and power up one of his, probably his Quilladin on the bench. Yeah, looks like exactly what he is doing. I'm just going to go straight for the Skyfield, play down my Hawlucha, go ahead and Victory Kiss with Jinx, and then I'm going to probably, I'm going to go ahead and stand in, rush in and retreat. That way my opponent cannot knock out my Xerneas next turn. Gonna go ahead and play the DCE onto... Actually, no, I'm gonna hold on to it just in case, and then go for a Rainbow Force this turn. Get 200 damage off on that Mega Sceptile, and we are in a very good position. I think, yeah, he cannot knock me out this turn unless he gets a Chestnut and Chestnut Break, but it doesn't matter. He just goes for the Jagged Saber, and we are in a phenomenal position because I will be able to Victory Kiss here, and then knock out this Mega Sceptile with a Rainbow Force. So we are 1 prize card away from winning the game. There we go. And I don't think there is a way that we can lose unless my opponent gets like Super Mega Chestnut or something like that this turn. Okay, so he will be able to go for a touchdown, which will knock this Xerneas out. He just goes for the Needle Arm, does 50, and we will actually pull through after our abysmal start. You know what? I am just going to end this on a high note, go for a Power Creation. Because we healed Xerneas this turn, knock out the Quilladin, and that will be the game. That was a heck of a game. I mean, we were able to stall early. Celebi came through clutch. We do almost enough damage to get the to get the daily challenge, and we won the game. So great job, Xerneas. Way to come through. Just hit for absolutely obscene amounts of damage when you get set up. And yeah, this deck is very, very fun. Not exactly the most competitive, but I still love using it nonetheless, and I hope you guys will too, because there's a lot you can do with this deck. There's a lot of room for like making your own twist on it. You don't have to use all the same Pokemon. You can just be like, oh, I want this Steel Pokemon instead of this one. So I mean, do your own thing with it, have fun, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.